Olá, pessoal, boa tarde. Bem-vindos ao canal Astro Cabana. Eu sou Fernando Guimarães. Estamos aqui durante a programação hoje de palestrantes, meus colegas internacionais, falando um pouco da astrologia que eles pesquisam nos seus países. Então, agora eu vou apresentar para vocês a minha colega britânica Liz Hathaway, que vai estar hoje conosco falando sobre o seu trabalho. Hi, Liz. This is our audience in Brazil that are watching you today, and I did some presentations saying that we are in that group of mundane astrology.
Okay, thank you, Fernando, and hello, Brazil, shall I say. So Fernando and I are colleagues. We work together on the Rod Chang Mundane channel, so that's how we met. And so, yeah, it's an honor to be speaking to you today. It's a small presentation. I'd first like to introduce myself. I'm Liz Hathaway. So I am born in South Wales in the UK. But since 1980, I am living in the Netherlands. So I also speak Dutch. Some things I might like you to know about myself. I am a Capricorn. I have a Cancer moon. And right now, the ascendant in Amsterdam is conjunct with my natal ascendant. So we, at the moment, we have
always a synchronicity, always in astrology.
Very, yeah, it's exactly. And Mars is on the midheaven, conjunct my natal Pluto to the degree, which is conjunct my midheaven. So there's a certain sort of affinity with this talk tonight, this afternoon. So my astrological background, a bit about that. I got into astrology as a teenager at school through Linda Goodman's books. But I have a Master of Arts in Cultural Astronomy and Astrology from the University of Wales in Lampeter. I have a diploma from the Faculty of Astrological Studies in London, and I'm a qualified horary craftswoman from the John Frawley School. Fernando asked me to say a little bit about astrology here in the Netherlands. So just briefly, the Netherlands has a population of around 18 million people. So it's quite a small country compared to Brazil. We have two professional organizations in the Netherlands, the AVN and the ASAS. And they're quite different. The AVN is maybe a bit more formal. And the ASAS is, shall we say, more avant-garde, is quite popular among younger astrologers here. The RVN is maybe a bit more traditional. But astrology is growing in popularity here in the Netherlands. I think that's largely to do as well with social media, TikTok, and of course the availability of all kinds of apps which young people are really taken to, and ChatGPT, etc. So that's a little bit of information on me and astrology here. And what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit, which is what Fernando asked me to bring to your attention today, is I'm going to talk a little bit about the horoscope of Israel and, as we know, this conflict that is raging at the moment. It's not a complete talk. It's kind of background research for an article I'm writing. So it's all still developing, or my ideas are still developing. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to share what I've got with you, and hope you enjoy. Oh yeah, before we start, these are two YouTube films in which we discuss Israel and Palestine. So there's one, this is the Rod Chang group where Fernando and I met each other. So if you're interested in the subject matter, these two programs would be interesting for you as well. So I'm going to start because the blueprint for anything is, of course, the birth chart. The birth chart holds all the potential for anything, is in that ground plan. So I'm using the Scorpio rising chart. I know that there is a Libra rising chart for Israel, but I work a lot with the Scorpio rising chart because the whole drama, shall we say, that's now unfolding in the Middle East started with Pluto really coming into Aquarius and squaring this ascendant degree. Also, I find personally that Israel has a lot more affinity with Mars than with Venus. So just looking at this chart, it has to be immediately noticeable what a big 10th house this country has. It has Moon, Pluto, Saturn, and Mars there in the 10th house. Moon being the people. So we see really, Moon, people, government, state, war. Mars rules the sixth, the army. This is like the big flag on the tower of this country that we all see.
Liz,
hello.
Have you changed the PowerPoint slide presentation for the charts now?
No.
Oh, okay. Because can you see the screen with your pictures?
I can see my chart. Yeah.
Okay.
And it says StreamYard.com is sharing a window. It says at the bottom as well.
Okay, just because we are still looking at the first slide, the first picture.
Okay, so you have not seen any of the other things I've.
No, just the first slide with your picture. Probably you have to change manually on the left side column.
That's what can you see now? I'm doing it manually right now.
Now I still see the picture. Your picture is the first page.
Because it says at the bottom here, StreamYard.com is sharing a window.
I think on the bottom you can see like a little screen and an open book on the bottom below your picture.
What I can see is, let me see, the only thing that seems to be highlighted is, let me see, what's that? It's a screen. It looks like a camera.
Okay, the next to it, right on the middle. Oh, next to the screen with the plus sign, you have like an open book.
Let me see.
Icon.
Let me see.
On the bottom of the slide.
What about that? Can you see anything different now?
No.
An open book. I have this option, which is showing all the slides. I'm playing with all the options there now. I have a pen, which allows me to point. And then I have an option which shows all the slides. I have an option which is captions and subtitles.
Oh, I see.
And I have, what else?
Well, change it now. It changes now. It moved.
So can you see something different now?
Yes, like the flag color.
Okay, so what has happened there then? And if I go full screen, are you now seeing next slides or?
No, not yet.
Let's see. What about if I do that now?
No.
So do I have to, and if I do that?
No. Now, yes.
What are you seeing now then, Fernando, actually?
We see the pictures of our mundane world scope meetings.
And if I do this?
Now we see the chart.
Okay, so it looks like I can't do full screen, that I have to stay in this mode, because
Yes.
once I go to full screen, like this, you're not seeing, right?
No, not seeing full screen.
So I'm gonna have to, it's gonna have to be that we do it this way then, okay?
Okay. Yes, good enough.
Okay, so I'll just carry on then where I was. So yeah, as I was saying, in this chart for Israel, you see a very full 10th house, which if you think of the 10th house as being the government, the state in a way, and the moon, the people, then they're all clustered together. And the moon here is moving towards Saturn, Pluto in this conjunction here, which in a way, it's a very powerful sort of archetype, like Saturn, Pluto. I mean, it's a real force. It's almost sort of like a force to be, certainly a force to be reckoned with. And Mars is there in the 10th as well. And Mars rules the 6th house, which is about the army, among other things, at the 6th house. So there's a strong military presence in the world, you could say, embedded in the birth chart of the nation. And actually, if we look at the history of Israel thus far, it is a country and a people, the moon ruling the people in mundane astrology, that seems to be in a constant state of war. And it's all in the name of self-defense, because Mars also rules the ascendant. So it's all about defense, self-defense, and fear. I mean, Saturn Pluto is quite a fearful combination as well. You get things done actually by this kind of iron fist idea. And these 4 planets are in fixed signs. So the moon, the people, it's all fixed, and they're fixed into a Saturn Pluto narrative of fear and victimhood, very much. I mean, Saturn is the planet that is traditionally associated with the Jewish people, and this is in traditional astrology. We also have Mars here, which again rules the ascendant, rules the 6th, and it's conjunct with the fixed star Regulus. And if we look at what Vivian Robson says about this degree, this position for Regulus, she calls it the crushing foot. So there's a huge amount of power here bundled in this area of the chart. Success, she says, if revenge can be avoided. And I think what's very noticeable in this chart is there isn't an awful lot of planets in the lower half of the chart. It's all out there in the world, really, apart from Jupiter in Sag. Okay, Jupiter trine Mars. So just to remind ourselves, I said that, like this idea of, fixity, which we see in the birth chart, or these planets in fast signs. If we look at the list of Israel's wars, then we can learn something about, from looking at this in a mundane perspective, we can learn something about this kind of collection of planets and what it might mean in a chart. And like I said, I think it's this idea of perpetual warfare. So if we look at the list of Israel's wars, it starts immediately in 1948. We have the Arab-Israeli War. And then the 1950s and the 60s, there was the Palestinian Fedayeen insurgency, who were fighting against the presence of Israel on what Palestinians considered their homeland. In 1956, we had the Suez Crisis, where Israel became involved in the war of France and Britain with Egypt. In 1967, we have the Six-Day War, which was a huge win of territory, really, for Israel. It was an incredible victory. In 1967 to 70, we had what's known as the War of Attrition. 73 was the Yom Kippur War. 82 is Israel-Lebanon, when the IDF invaded southern Lebanon and led to a still existent security zone in the south of Lebanon. Again in Lebanon, 1982-2000, there was the southern Lebanon conflict. Then we come to the intifadas. The first was in 87 to 93. The second was 2000 to 2005. Then we had the Israel-Hezbollah war in 2006. We had Operation Cast Lead in 2008, 2009. 2012, we had the Operation Pillar of Defense. 2014, it was Operation Protective Edge. 2013 to 2024, there was a proxy war with Iran, which was fought in Syria during the Syrian war. And of course, I've forgotten to add here the ongoing conflict now in Gaza, which has now extended beyond, a sort of conflict within Israel itself with the Gazans and the Palestinians, but it has now reached out across into Iran. So the whole area, the Levant, is in a very dangerous position at the moment. So if we look again at that 10th house and that Moon, Saturn, Pluto, Mars combination there, then we get a sense of how dominant Israel is in the region. It's a nuclear power, at least we assume, although Israel is not always very open and forthright about that sort of thing. It's quite secretive. Again, very much the signature of Saturn Pluto. Saturn Pluto is not open. It's very much an underground sort of, subterfuge, keep things cards close to the chest. But it says a lot, and we can learn a lot just from this very basic information, I think. So there's quite a set of unusual circumstances when we look at the chart of Israel. So another striking thing about the chart, which is really highly unusual, is the huge number of out-of-bound planets that we see in this chart. Uranus is out of bounds, Pluto is out of bounds, Mercury is out of bounds, the Moon is out of bounds, Venus is out of bounds. So that's 5 of the 10 planets that I work with that are out of bounds. So let's remember, a planet is out of bounds when its declination, its angular distance north or south of the celestial equator, exceeds the sun's maximum declination. So when planets are out of bounds, they have a kind of off the scaleness about them. They are completely non-conformist, and they are not, they're not going to act according to plan. In effect, they go their own way, they do their own thing, and it can be my way or the highway. So there's a rogue element, actually, very much a dangerous rogue element present in the chart of Israel, in my opinion. What we also see, as I said, is Mercury in this chart of Israel is out of bounds. And Mercury is in Gemini. So we're talking here about a highly intelligent nation. I mean, it is the magician aspect in many ways, Mercury in Gemini. It really is able to, certainly with Mercury in the 8th house, as it is in the chart of Israel, it's a kind of smoke and mirrors position. It's very canny, it's able to obscure the reality of things, while you're looking at A and focused on A, like how the magician works, right? It shows you one thing, but the other hand, while you're focused at that, something else is taking place. So there's a real cleverness there. We also know that Israel is far ahead in terms of tech warfare. It's military intelligence. It's incredible. The Mossad is the second largest espionage agency in the Western world after the CIA. And the mission statement of the Mossad, it's coming from the Bible, from Proverbs. For want of strategy, an army falls, but victory comes with much planning. So let's look at Mars, because Mars rules the ascendant if you're working with the Scorpio ascendant, and it rules the 6th house if you're it's just the ruler of the 6th house, which, as I said, relates, among other things, of course, the health of the nation is also 6th house. Also, slaves, servants in general. So Mars rules the 6th house, the army, and it's in Leo, conjunct Regulus. But this is a daytime chart, and so Mars is out of sect. So we could see here that the energy is in some way frustrated, and it's going to be difficult to integrate. And in my view, planets that are out of sect, they don't always bring satisfaction. They kind of disappoint in a way. And Mars is a malefic as well. So what we see, of course, thinking of Robson's idea of, success if revenge can be avoided, is that Israel's use of force is perceived as being harsh and revengeful, is harsh and revengeful. And therefore, if we look at it from a broader perspective, we could say this activity or this way of being in the world is not really beneficial to the nation or to soul growth or to peaceful relationships with your neighbours or to ever having a peaceful life in a way. You're doomed to just, keep doing the same thing. That's what it feels like. If we look at the history of the country since 1948, it seems to be this perpetual Mars. And what I think is very striking at the moment is that Saturn, which is the planet traditionally associated with the Jewish people, is moving from Pisces, which in some respects we can see as relating to victimhood, to Aries, which is very much the perpetrator. So the view that many people, if we look at all the demonstrations, there's a big one here in The Hague today, a lot of ordinary people have had their idea and perception of Israel changed dramatically through the actions of Mars, the martial nature of the response, the revengeful nature of the response to the events of 7 October. So to continue, this is now the inner wheel here is the chart of Israel. And the outer wheel is the secondary progress chart for Israel. And it's quite interesting if you look here at this. I don't know if I can get if you can see what I'm looking at here. I've marked it, but there's a curious sun, moon, sun thing going on here. And I find really striking about what's happening in Israel at the moment, despite all the dissent and all of the problems within the country, there is a sort of solidarity with regard to certain fundamentals. So there is a sort of euphoria in Israel at the moment with regard to the attack in Iran and the sort of destruction of what is perceived to be Iran's nuclear capabilities. So even though there's a divide in the country between, shall we say, the religious element, the fundamentalists in a way, Jewish, like the Haredi Jews and the Hasidic Jews and people like that, who are also quite big in the government now, or their voice is big in the government, and the more secular side. So there's a split going on there in many ways. But in this particular issue, where it comes to the way to deal with your enemies, which is 7th house, there is a fundamental accord. People and leadership are one. And that is graphically and visually to be seen in the positions of the progress planets with regard to the natal chart. So there's a huge consensus, and also with regard to what's going to be the future of Gaza, there is more consensus than I feel comfortable with, really. But what we also see here is where this little area here of 12th house, that Mars, remember ruling the army here, is coming into this Neptune area of the chart here. A few years, that will be exact there. And at the same time, in the few years to come, the sun, the Pluto's at 12, the sun here is at 7. So like in 5 years, sun is going to be coming in between Saturn and Pluto here. So that's, if you look at this as a fixed sign and the sun in Leo, then there's a certain direction that the country is moving in, which feels highly authoritarian in a way. It's almost like less diplomacy, more authoritarianism. That's what I see here. And I think also this Mars business that's going on here, which is, it's going to be a bit before this Sun with Pluto. Mars getting caught up with Neptune, it's a sort of, to me, Neptune always feels a bit like you want to get bogged down, you want to get involved in things, where there's no clear end game. You're going to get sucked in, you're going to get drawn in. It's got an addictive quality as well. How do you get out of that? It feels to me, it feels like this situation in the Middle East is not played out by a long shot, not by a long shot. So yeah, this idea that Israel, to my mind, and this is which is very small here because I can't enlarge my screen, but you can see on the outer wheel here is just this preemptive strike on Iran, which has been called Rising Lion. And again, you can see the line up here, the moon in that chart is completely aligned with the sun in the radix and the progressive secondary progressed moon. Jupiter secondary progressed is close still to radix Venus. So yeah, there's a sort of definite feel, as far as I'm concerned, is that Israel is stuck in a cycle of what George Orwell in 1984 referred to as a state of perpetual war. And, following Orwell's idea of what this is about, it means, incite fear in your citizens. Keep power, Sun, remember here, going up into this area of the chart now in between Saturn and Pluto. Keep power in the hands of an elite group, whether that be military, political, or religious. And indeed, as secondary progressed Sun comes into conjunction with the fixed planets in that 10th house, there will be, I think, a move towards a much more authoritarian state. And that was already on the cards before the 7th of October attacks, by the way. There was already a promise to expand the settlements in the West Bank, etc. So yeah, this is the moment that Netanyahu was sworn in. As I said, this was less than a year before the 7 October attacks. And it's interesting, isn't it, when you look here, Jupiter and Aries here. And, we know what's been going on over this ascendant over the last years. And it's almost like, Netanyahu's reign as prime minister is very dependent on maintaining this struggle with the outside world. I also think it's interesting to briefly look at the relationship between Israel and the US, because, the big question, I think, at least if you listen to the news, I think the big question is, will America now get involved? I mean, it's very difficult with Trump in the White House, actually, to know, where the truth lies. His action. Trump has this ability to rivet attention on him. The media love him in a way. We're all interested in him, everything he does. He's a big news story, and it's kind of smoke and mirrors, really. Or a hall of mirrors. It's very Neptunian, but he's a very canny character, Trump. So, I've listened to quite a lot of experts talking about whether Donald Trump actually was in the know and whether the whole talk of the discussions between Trump and Iran over their nuclear development program, whether that was just one big smokescreen to give Israel this sort of surprise attack, but it's very difficult for us as citizens to really find out the truth of things, because we are in a world, I think, where reality is very much obscured, and it's very difficult to know where the truth lies. But what we certainly see between these two countries, certainly where military matters are concerned, is that they are very much, on the same page, you could say. Mercury, which, as I said, is in the 8th house in the horoscope of Israel, is here with Uranus in the 6th in the chart of the US. So the US too is very interested in high-tech warfare and developing of high-tech machinery and infrastructure, to allow an advantage in a military sense of the word. We see here Uranus is with Mars, and Mars is a big planet in the horoscope of the US. It's in the 7th house. So America is often involved in conflicts elsewhere, and it's very Gemini. It's very fickle. We saw with the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, and other places. America can quickly drop out of things as well. It's Gemini is quite can change its mind on at the drop of a hat. But there's certainly, here Neptune, Saturn, which, is coming up. We've got a conjunction of Neptune, Saturn coming up soon. So these two countries are locked in to a very close, I would say, kind of I scratch your back, you scratch mine. There's something they've also got Venus conjunctions. So there's mutual interest there as well. So just a little look at Ingress Pluto as well, because I think it's really interesting that when we look at this area of Ingress Pluto, this is where all the action has been recently and where it's still to come, because Saturn, Neptune, of course, is both crossing over this area of this chart too, bringing in Pluto into Aquarius. And this chart, this is the first ingress, is really important. So keeping that Aquarius ingress in mind, I just want to remind you of something else that was coming through with Pluto in Aquarius, which is something that I'm drawn to a lot at the moment, because if we think of, this upcoming Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, then we could say the whole of our attention, is focused on this Aries energy, the war as spectacle. We become addicted to the news about it. It's films, it's heroes and villains, and it's so incredibly Neptunian. And it's very difficult for us as individuals, really, to cope with the enormity of it. And also you can have that feeling of you can't do anything, really. So what I found interesting with the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was that we see the movement, something else stirring in our psyche, in the human psyche. It's the beginning of romanticism. So we get like William Blake, who was an anarchist. William Blake is seen as an anarchist. We see things like Songs of Innocence and Experience, which is showing the two contrary states of the human soul. We have things like William Wordsworth and Samuel Coleridge, and this whole idea of a movement away from, shall we say, technology and away from industrialization, which was kicking off then, and a movement towards a simpler life, a quieter life, a life centered around things that we have more control over. Stepping back, if you like, not getting sucked in to the Saturn-Neptune fiasco or the drama of this film, which I think is going to play out in front of us with Saturn and Neptune in, let's face it, the most warmongering of signs can be Aries. So what is the fundament of romanticism? It's the idea that feelings and intuition and imagination, very Neptunian, it's valued more than logic or scientific thinking. This idea as nature as being sacred, we need to protect it. I mean, all of this warfare and all of this bombing and all of this killing, it takes us away from the beauty that our world has. The individual and the sublime, the experience of our own personal experience, and our sense of awe and terror, not in the face of war, but in the face of that other Neptunian thing, you know, which is our place in the cosmos, which is so vast and unknowable. And Aries, we can see that component coming through in a sense of rebellion and freedom and not getting sucked in. You know, it's being the outsider, the rebel. And also, I think that's something I'm sort of myself being drawn to at the moment, looking at medieval maps. I've just bought a book about life in a medieval village, you know, that return to community and to things that are more within my sphere of influence, if you like. And yeah, I'd like to end with this slide from how this is from The Gods of Change, from the late great Howard Susport. And with regard to archetypes and planetary energies of the outer planets, he's talking about the outer planets, by the way, because all of the outers now are shifting. Signs they're moving from earth and water to fire and air, which can, as we know, fan an almighty blaze, that combination. So for ourselves personally, I think the questions of what is trying to material right now, what archetype is trying to manifest itself, what is the next step humanity needs to take, and what do we need to do, and what can we do, maybe more to the point right now, to make our world a better place, I would say. So, Fernando, that was my little contribution to your great event you're organising this weekend.
That's most wonderful. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate it now, your take on Neptune and Aries, because most of the time, since the traditional astrologers do not use Neptune, the Transsaturnine or Transsaturnine planets. So it's up to us who research Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto to try to, have a feeling of their transit, either in a positive way, constructive way, or what is in a more negative way, which sells more in the social media when you talk about bad stuff about planets, end of the world because of Pluto. So unfortunately, we are at this level culturally very poorly, that what sells in media, on TV, whatever, on newspaper, are the bad news.
Yeah.
And certainly we do have the tsunamis and other things, but people lack to feel the opportunities that those big planets bring to us. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, thank you, Fernando. Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's ideas that I'm playing with. And I just think I'm sort of recognize how addictive, and that's like Neptune, right? Saturn, Neptune in Aries. Neptune can be highly addictive, and it's almost like you need your news drip, your news feed. What happened here today? What happened in Iran? What's America doing? And it's highly addictive, and I don't think it does us any good, really, not really. But it's very difficult to step away from all of that. What's the word? Yeah, it's got a certain allure to it, and it's very Neptunian. It's a wall of mirrors. I don't know, a hall of mirrors.
Yeah. And also it brings the sublime. It brings the that feelings that goes beyond matter, goes beyond death. But people are not attuned to that, because the five senses, the Mercury, Taurus, Earth, Mercury, just are connected to the five senses, to whatever we can put our eyes on. And, my deep hope is that silently Neptune is going to go over the areas, some areas archetype like the military in the world, the war, the warriors, and show the difference of being aggressive from being assertive, from being like the starters of wars, to be more like protective in a sense of to be in defense in the background. That's what I hope.
Yeah. I mean, look, hope springs eternal, Fernando. You can only hope when Pandora opened the box, that was the one thing that didn't fly out, right? Was hope. So we have to keep hope, right? It's true.
Yeah. And besides, we are more aware of the power of our minds and souls and spirits for those who pray or do meditation or believe in, whatever positive affirmation, or to put in our energy, our soul energy, to work in our minds, to soothe reality. Because some people say, oh, this is magic. It's not magic, it's just invisible. Is the kingdom of Neptune. It's silent, it's nonverbal, and is invisible. So all those infrared and ultra, I forgot this, the spectrum, the light spectrum, infrared and ultraviolet. I don't know how to call those. They say horses can see, and dogs and some pets, but we cannot see or hear beyond, that very limited.
There's more than we are able,
and more than we are.
Yeah.
So I think Neptune might help us to touch into that.
Obviously, Neptune will manifest on many, many levels.
Yes.
If you're an artist, for example, you might be experimenting now with all kinds of new things, like Beethoven meets, I don't know, Genesis or something. Do you know what I mean? With all the artificial intelligence, you can create things that were impossible,
True.
in the past. So, for creative people, maybe there's huge breakthroughs possible. I think it's also, in terms of medicine, in terms of agriculture, there could be a lot of advances, because Aries, does pull ahead, and Neptune has, access, like you were just saying as well, to a whole rich pool, that we normally are not aware of, and it's our awareness. We can bring things in.
Yeah.
But in this specific realm of aggression and war, it can give you the delusion of victory, for example, or
to be invincible.
Yeah, it can really make things very foggy, and also the truth. What's that saying? The first victim, truth is the first victim of war. So once war is going on, truth, it seems to get lost in.
Oh my goodness!
So that's very Neptune as well. If we've seen it already, recently with the killing of those aid workers. It took a long time for the truth to come out, and it was actually only because a mobile phone was found in the grave with some film of what had actually happened, that Israel had to backstep, and eventually, the truth came out. But you're very fortunate if the truth comes out when Neptune's big in the picture. I think it might take years.
Yeah. That's why I think, like music and filmmaking, like Neptune, but we are going to have back maybe like the authors, the individual, like personal individual filmmakers like Aries, the hero that are filmmakers or music. They will try to in a Neptune language, music and film bring this awareness to, because music and cinema and film goes all over the world. Yeah. All the continents they watch and they hear. So I think this is the communication, not media or not news that can be foggy or fake news. So that's my feeling. And what I was trying to say, that Neptune might in 14 years to dilute some parts of the patriarchy of the Aries. Aries shows the macho, the patriarchy, the bravata or whatever. So I think they have, the armies of the world, they have to make a choice to see, because it's going to be, I think it's going to be a difference. Anyways, it's more than 100 years.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we all know what happened in 1989. I mean, that was a massive year historically. Fall of the Wall, Tiananmen Square. That's just two, but there were loads. I can't remember. In the UK, we had the privatization of water, which was a big screw up. But there we are. But yeah, it's gonna bring a lot of change for sure, and big change as well. It can completely change the map of the world, can't it? As it did, post fall of the wall. The whole map of Europe changed after that, But we will see, Fernando, and we'll be discussing it on Rod's show as well.
Yeah, every month for several years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've been a much longer guest on the show than I have, but yeah, it's good fun, I think.
Okay, before you say goodbye to our Brazilian audience, if they want to reach you, is through your name or on Facebook, or how what you write for Instagram, or what is how they can reach you to communicate with you?
I'm on Facebook under my name, Liz Hathway Astrologer. That's and I do have a website, but at the moment I'm not really hugely active on social media. I've taken a bit of a step back, but if you follow me on Facebook, Liz Hathway Astrologer, if I'm publishing anything or doing anything, it will be on there. I'll post it.
Okay, astrology. So I write that. Let me see.
Shall I put it in that? I can see a chat box there, Fernando.
Yeah.
Let's see.
See if I wrote it right on your screen now.
No, Liz Hathway Astrologer.
Okay. So I got it here.
So that's me on Facebook, anyway.
Okay. So
it's very warm here. It's kind of temperatures have gone through the roof the last few days. So it's really, I'm going to go for a walk now.
Oh, yeah.
All that talk of war and troubles in the world, I'm going to leave.
Yeah, because it's warm weather for you, and we are here in the winter,
No, it's. I think it's 26 degrees here today, 27 degrees. So it's nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will speak in Portuguese and you can say goodbye. Pessoal, a gente está se despedindo agora. Quero agradecer a Liz Hathway. Aqui está o endereço dela no Facebook, Liz Hathway Astrologer, para quem quiser seguir ou conversar com ela. E agora ela vai se despedir da gente.
Now, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Fernando, for inviting me, and I wish you all a really good day.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
See you soon.